Sculptra comes 2 vials per box, and each treatment should be 2 vials unless somebody is on a follow-up schedule. So in general, you'll be diluting 2 vials at once. The diluent you use is free water, bacteriostatic water. This is the only indication in our med spa so far for the bacteriostatic water. And then Lido. And then you're going to put them in, they'll be in 3 ml syringes. So we're using 5s because I don't think I have 3s, and I have a ton of 5s, which we never use. And then 25 gauge needle, and the needle gets plugged really easily, so I'm going to show you some tricks. Sculptra is PLLA, which is, let's put this aside, permanent. Your body degrades it over 3 to 5 months, and as your body degrades it, your body lays down new collagen and elastin in response to the tissue damage. In each bottle, we're putting 9 mLs of fluid, 8 mLs of free water, and 1 ml of Lido. We're drawing up the Lido and the free water in different syringes because this is obviously a multi-use, as is this. So you don't want to mix the Lido with the free water. Although, if you did, like I said, there's no other indication for free water. So you're only using it for Sculptra in here right now at this moment in time until I get something else, so it doesn't super matter. I am gonna pop the top because this bottle will get really full. It won't overflow, but it'll get really full, so I obviously didn't take any air out before I did that. But also because it makes it easier to dilute. So this is 5 mLs. I'm just gonna keep track mentally of what I'm doing. This is 5 mLs of free water, and I'm going to dilute by rolling it along the sides to catch all the sides of the product. And then just kind of slowly putting it in and then swirling it. And what you'll notice is it'll always be foamy at the top. That's okay. That we don't want. What we want is the rest of the PLLA molecules to settle down. Not settle completely, and they will if you let them. I don't want them to settle at the bottom of the vial, but I want some of that foamy to go away before I inject. It used to be you had to let it sit on the counter for a certain period of time. Right now, the new approval they have is that you don't have to pre-dilute. I'm thinking because I put the needle in the Sculptra, okay, it's sterile in there, so we're good to go. And I was just second guessing myself to make sure I didn't get any Sculptra on the end of the needle because I don't want to introduce Sculptra into this water. That's why I stopped for a sec. I feel confident that I didn't, so I'm going to reuse the needle to drop the rest of my free water. If there was any question about me not keeping this completely clean, it's still sterile, but clean of Sculptra, then I would just change it out. Am I neurotic? That makes sense, right? Okay. Yes, the answer is yes, I am neurotic. So I did 5. The total is going to be 8. So I need 3 more of free water and then 1 of the Lido. And then the way I remember that is 3 mLs in 3 mLs. So 3 ml syringes. So in order to get 3 3s, you need 9 total fluid, and the Lido is always going to be less, obviously. That's just my little trick to remember that. Otherwise, you can reference the Sculptra policy and the videos. Now I just need, so this is my free water needle. I'm going to put that aside because I am doing it twice. And I'm going to grab a second one for Lido. Because I only need 1 ml of Lido per bottle. I'm gonna grab 2, and because I've decapped, I don't have to go through the cap. I guess it doesn't super matter since we're injecting both into the same patient, but anyway, that's where I'm gonna use 1 syringe. Obviously, I would never fault anybody for using 1,000,000 needles and 1,000,000 syringes until you get used to what you're doing, but sometimes little heading issues off at the pass before you have a pile of needles in front of you kind of helps, I find. So 1 ml. Another tip that you guys probably know, but I'm just gonna say anyway, is I tend to dilute this before the patient comes in, not only because it takes forever, but also because there's a lot of syringes and a few different components, and if I'm talking to a patient and doing this, I inevitably will get something mixed up, which drives me crazy. So I like to focus on what I'm doing. This is really the only thing that I have to focus compared to like diluting Botox. It's 1 ml, put it in. But because we're using free water, because I don't do this super often, because I'm using Lido and the free water, I like to do this in a quiet space. Okay. It's my free water, here's my Lido. It doesn't matter what order you put it in as long as you're doing about 9. God forbid you did 8 mLs. It's not super gonna matter, but ideally the concentration is 9 mLs to 1 bottle because it allows for enough liquid to disperse the PLLA molecules in such a way that allows for proper spread. So if we're doing a global treatment, we want to make sure that we're diluting it to allow for that. The dilution is different for, so I'm doing 5 and then I'm gonna do another 3. I always do that. Unless I'm not even gonna get into that. The dilution is different for Sculptra butt lift, different for Sculptra hands and décolleté and neck. So this is what we'll do for face. The other things, if you're interested, we can delve into later. So that's 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8. We had 1 ml of our Lido, which makes 9. I'll put this aside, this aside, this is trash. Now we need to draw it up. Drawing up is tough. I use the 25s to draw up. I only grabbed 2. More. Because I've found when I draw up with 18s, I get some of the bigger molecules and clumps, and when I put the 25 on to inject, which is what the indication is, there's way more clumping. So I'm gonna let this one sit for a while. This is the second one I diluted. This is the first one. So you can see some of the product is kind of settled out at the bottom, but this milky white and the foam at the top is pretty much what I want. So I'm just gonna swirl it around a little bit and then I'll stir it with my needle. The one thing is I wanna make sure that the needle doesn't touch the outside of the bottle because the outside of the bottle is not sterile when I'm stirring. Drawing up with the 25 is much slower and kind of annoying, but at least anything that comes through the 25 can go back out, and it just leads to way less clogging. The biggest thing you'll have to fight when you're actually injecting the patient is clogging of the needle. The injection itself is pretty painless, surprisingly. You'd think it would be more painful, but I think because we're doing in the fatty area of the face rather than intradermal or periosteal. For some, that the nerves don't go in that area, and so it doesn't, as long as you're through the skin, it actually doesn't hurt a lot, and then the lidocaine starts right away. So that's 3 ml. So we're doing 3 mls per bottle. Do you mind grabbing a few more of the 5s? Oh, never mind, I have some. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 more, 5, 6, thank you. I was trying to use a 27 to drop earlier, and then I realized the 27 is too short, so we're back to 25s. I feel like if I could use a 27, it'd come out a lot faster, but. So I'm not drawing up the foam. The foam is not part of the product. I'm only drawing up the liquid. Once the liquid is gone, and you want to get every drop. So you might have put in a little extra liquid, just grab it because it all has the PLLA that we want. So as I was saying, PLLA is calcium polyapatite, and it is considered non-reversible biologic. So our body does degrade it over 3 to 5 months, but as I was saying, the end result is your body views it as a foreign object and lays down the new collagen and elastin. And that new collagen and elastin is really what we're replacing, which is why this is for more global volume loss than specific cheeks, lips, etc. In fact, there's places you don't want to inject this. Being that it's non-reversible, you don't want to inject it in the tear troughs. You don't want to inject it in the lips. You definitely want to inject it in the cheeks and anywhere else that can pull back and makes the appearance of a mini facelift, basically. Because of the collagen production, you want to encourage people to do 3 treatments, 1 a month for 3 months, with the maintenance being 1 treatment per year thereafter of 1 or 2 bottles, depending on how things look and whether they feel they need 1 or 2. That's at the point where they can start micromanaging their finances and their preferences. There are times where I'll have somebody say after the 2nd that they don't feel like they need a 3rd, but or just buying 1 at a time and saying, I'll see how I feel after the 1st, but I'd say 2. They need at least 2 to see a palpable result, and that's the biggest thing, is you want them to believe in what you're doing and the effect you're going to have. So this one I just let this sit, so I'm going to stir it up a little bit. But the best results are going to be after the 3rd session, even 6 months later. But collagen takes 4 to 6 weeks to build, and then it kind of plateaus. That's why you do a 2nd treatment at 4 to 6 weeks and a 3rd treatment at 4 to 6 weeks, and you're just having your body make the most amount of collagen. And then the degradation is a lot slower process, so you can go longer in between treatments. You can go a year before having your next treatment. I'm just gonna itch my face, that's gross. So I didn't. What else? But otherwise, the injection itself is very easy. It goes in very smoothly. It's water, basically. So the other thing with Sculptra is the aftercare, making sure people are massaging the areas that you've injected 5 times a day, 5 minutes for 5 days. We all know that patients' compliance levels vary, so the recommendations are such that people are doing it at least twice a day for at least 2 to 3 minutes, at least 2 days. So anything additional, they get an A+. Anything less, they can end up with lumps, and that's what you don't want to prevent. And the most common area to get lumps is the marionette area, chin area, under the lips. And it's the most noticeable, probably because of how people talk and manipulate that area. Let me go grab another 25. But I think we can end that because you guys have